Wealth is not measured by the coins in your hand, but by the discipline of your mind. For the Stoics taught that the man who governs his desires is richer than the man who governs an empire. And it is with this truth that we begin the exploration of 10 Stoic lessons that can transform your financial life and grant you freedom beyond calculation. Imagine for a moment your own struggles with money, the weight of bills, the anxiety of choices, the endless chase for more, and then consider what it would mean to step into a world where the turbulence of finances no longer dictates the state of your soul. This is the promise of Stoicism applied to personal wealth. And by the end of this journey, you will uncover a lesson so profound, so hidden beneath the noise of modern life, that it will change the way you see money forever. Stay with me until the conclusion, for only there will the final secret be revealed, the one that ties all others together into a single path of financial serenity. Along the way, I invite you to reflect, to ask yourself which of these truths resonate with your own experience, and even to share your thoughts. Because in dialogue, we discover not only ourselves, but the shared wisdom that links us to those who came before us. Let us begin not in the present, but in the streets of ancient Rome, where senators in flowing robes strode past merchants weighing coins on their gleaming scales, where gold glittered in the sunlight and whispers of fortune filled the air. Amidst this cacophony of ambition, a Stoic philosopher walked calmly, his sandals worn, his expression serene, untroubled by wealth or poverty, because he had learned that true prosperity comes not from acquisition, but from mastery over desire. Yet Rome is only one backdrop, for the same wisdom could be heard in the markets of Athens, in the quiet temples of the East, and in the crowded bazaars of Persia, where the clinking of coins echoed like the beating heart of the world. Across cultures, the same truth emerged. Money may build houses, but it cannot build character. It may fill the purse, but it cannot fill the soul. This is why the first Stoic counsel for improving your financial life is discipline. For without the governance of self, all wealth becomes chains. But with discipline, even scarcity can be transformed into freedom. Picture yourself in the modern world, surrounded by advertisements that scream at you to buy, to upgrade, to never be satisfied. Every billboard and glowing screen whispers the same lie, that happiness is just one purchase away. Yet the Stoic voice cuts through this noise, reminding you that desire is a fire which consumes endlessly unless you learn to control it. By practicing restraint, by pausing before spending, by choosing necessity over excess, you begin to master not only your wallet, but your destiny. The second lesson is perspective, the capacity to see money for what it is, a tool and not a master, a servant and not a king. Seneca himself, though wealthy beyond measure, wrote in his letters that fortune's gifts are lent, not owned, and that he trained himself to dine simply and sleep humbly, so that wealth would never possess him. Imagine today a successful entrepreneur who drives a modest car, eats a simple meal, and yet lives in greater peace than his peers who exhaust themselves chasing endless upgrades. His calm does not come from deprivation, but from clarity, the understanding that true value lies not in appearances, but in inner freedom. The third Stoic lesson is preparation, the practice of rehearsing poverty so that you may not fear it. Epictetus, born a slave, taught his students to occasionally live as if they had nothing, to eat coarse bread, to sleep on the ground, and to ask themselves whether this was truly unbearable. In doing so, they discovered that the loss of luxury is not the loss of life, and that the dread of poverty is often worse than poverty itself. Apply this to your own finances. Try living 1 week on the bare minimum. Discover how little you truly need, and you will find that the fear of scarcity loses its grip upon you. The fourth lesson is gratitude, the recognition of abundance already present. The Stoics counseled beginning each day with thanks, not for what you wish to have, but for what you already possess. Consider the warmth of your bed, the food on your table, the clothes that shield you, the friends who support you. To dwell on what you lack is to feed discontent, but to see what you have is to cultivate wealth without expenditure. Gratitude transforms perception, turning modest means into riches and shifting the focus from endless acquisition to mindful enjoyment. The fifth lesson is resilience, the ability to endure financial storms without despair. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, wars, and economic upheaval, yet in his meditations he reminded himself that events are external, but response is within. When you lose money, when investments collapse, when unforeseen expenses strike, you can either curse fate or accept the trial as part of the human condition. To practice resilience is to see every setback not as ruin, but as training, an opportunity to strengthen the muscle of equanimity. The sixth lesson is clarity of priorities, for the Stoics taught that time is more precious than gold, and that to squander hours in pursuit of trivial wealth is the greatest poverty. Think of the worker who sells his life for trinkets, who exchanges moments with loved ones for endless overtime. And ask yourself what is truly valuable. To place virtue, wisdom, and relationships above material gain is to reorder life so that money becomes a means to live, not the measure of life itself. The seventh lesson is generosity. For wealth hoarded is sterile, but wealth shared becomes fertile. Seneca wrote that no one can live happily who has regard only for himself, and that giving strengthens both giver and receiver. Imagine the ripple effect of supporting a friend in need, of funding education, of donating to causes that uplift. Your money gains meaning only when it serves beyond your own appetite. And this generosity reflects the Stoic belief that we are citizens of a larger community, bound to each other in duty and compassion. The eighth lesson is detachment, the refusal to stake identity upon possessions. In a world where status is measured by houses and clothes, the Stoic stands apart, knowing that the self is neither enriched by gold nor impoverished by rags. To practice detachment is to walk calmly, whether fortune smiles or frowns, to keep the soul anchored when waves of prosperity rise and fall. This detachment does not mean indifference, but strength, the power to enjoy without clinging and to release without despair. The ninth lesson is prudence, the careful stewardship of resources. The Stoics were not reckless but deliberate, mindful of both present needs and future contingencies. To live prudently today is to budget wisely, to avoid debt when possible, to invest with patience, and to resist the allure of quick gain. Prudence is not fear but wisdom, the balance of caution and courage, ensuring that money supports rather than enslaves. The 10th lesson, the one that ties all together, is inner wealth, the understanding that the richest life is built upon virtue rather than fortune. This is the promise I asked you to stay for, the truth that underlies all Stoic counsel. You may lose coins, you may lose houses, you may even lose status, but if you hold fast to wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, you possess a treasure that no thief can steal. No market can collapse, no time can erode. Think of Epictetus, born in chains yet freer than emperors, because he had anchored his wealth not in possessions, but in the unassailable fortress of character. Think of Marcus Aurelius, ruler of Rome, who nightly reminded himself that the trappings of power would vanish, but the soul's virtue would remain. And now think of yourself, facing financial anxieties, tempted by desire, pressured by comparison. The Stoic way does not deny these struggles, but transforms them, offering a path where money serves but never rules, where simplicity becomes abundance, where generosity multiplies riches, and where freedom is found not in what you hold, but in what you release. This is the secret revealed. The true financial improvement is not the endless pursuit of more, but the disciplined cultivation of less. And that the wealth which cannot be bought is already within your reach if you dare to claim it. To carry this wisdom into daily life is to walk a road where every choice with money becomes an exercise in philosophy, a chance to embody the lessons of the ancients in a world that constantly tempts you to forget them. Imagine beginning your morning, not with the anxious review of debts or desires, but with the calm reflection of Marcus Aurelius, who reminded himself that he would meet today with greed and vanity, yet must not be ruled by them. You step into the marketplace of modern life, whether it be the aisles of a store or the endless scroll of online offerings, and you pause before each purchase with the question, does this serve virtue or does it feed desire? In that single pause, you reclaim authority over money, transforming an ordinary act into a sacred moment of self-mastery. Consider also how these lessons extend beyond individuals into societies. Rome itself rose and fell not only by armies, but by its relationship with wealth, as luxury corroded discipline and abundance bred weakness. In contrast, small communities that practiced moderation endured with greater harmony. Today we see nations crippled by debt, corporations devoured by greed, and yet also examples of resilience where communities invest in wisdom, education, and service. The Stoic principles apply on every scale, reminding us that without virtue, wealth becomes a poison, but guided by reason, it becomes medicine. Now let us look again at each of the 10 counsels with new eyes, weaving them into a tapestry of daily application. Discipline is practiced not in grand gestures, but in the small refusal to surrender to impulse, whether resisting an unnecessary purchase or declining the lure of quick profit schemes. Perspective is cultivated each time you remind yourself that money is a tool, not your identity, that its loss diminishes nothing essential within you. Preparation shields you from fear, for when you have faced the possibility of having little and found it bearable, the terror of loss no longer enslaves you. Gratitude fills your days with quiet wealth, making each meal, each possession, each friendship a treasure already owned. Resilience strengthens you in storms, teaching you that financial losses test but do not define, that you can rise again as countless Stoics did in the face of disaster. Priorities reorder your schedule and soul, ensuring that time with loved ones and cultivation of virtue always outweigh the hollow pursuit of trinkets. Generosity frees wealth from stagnation, allowing it to flow outward and return inward multiplied in meaning. Detachment keeps your soul anchored when fortune shifts, preventing the tide of gain or loss from carrying away your peace. Prudence guides your decisions, ensuring your path is steady rather than reckless, a careful march rather than a frantic sprint. And finally, inner wealth crowns all. The recognition that the virtues you carry cannot be taxed, cannot be stolen, cannot be inflated or devalued, for they are treasures beyond the reach of chance. Picture yourself years from now, looking back on your financial journey. Will you see a life of frantic chasing, of endless anxiety, of shallow victories? Or will you see a life sculpted like marble by these Stoic principles, steady, noble, free? The choice is yours, and it begins not tomorrow but now, in the next choice you make with your time, your money, your attention. For as the Stoics remind us, no man owns the future, and no man can alter the past, but each man holds the present moment as sovereign, and it is in that sovereignty that true wealth resides. So take these 10 counsels not as distant ideals, but as daily companions. Let them shape the way you spend, the way you save, the way you give, and above all, the way you think. For when the mind is disciplined, the soul is content and the life is rich, regardless of the balance in your purse. And now I return to the promise made at the beginning, that by staying with me to the end, you would discover the ultimate lesson hidden within the fabric of all the others. It is this: that financial freedom is not the absence of need, but the mastery of desire, and that once you grasp this truth, no circumstance can make you poor again. Whether you hold much or little, whether fortune smiles or frowns, you remain wealthy, because your riches are anchored not in shifting sands, but in the eternal bedrock of virtue. This is the secret Stoic gift, the treasure no coin can buy and no loss can erase, and it waits for you not in the distant future but in the discipline you choose to practice today.